I'm about to go live. About all set. Let me make sure YouTube got it. Let's go. One quick check. All right, we live on the air now. So we can get started. Let me go ahead and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I am your host, Tyrone Bridges. Let's get it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you. We want you to sit back and relax your mind.
Welcome, y'all.
We hope that our musical vibrations.
We're airing live right now on YouTube because Facebook have a technical issue, but we will rerun it on Facebook. Welcome, y'all. We have this is Tyrone Bridges, what I thought you knew, and I am here with Annie Somerville, the Ypsilanti City Councilwoman, Ward 3. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Everybody, welcome her to the show. And if you want to have comments at a later time, that's fine because we're having technical difficulties signing on to our other social media sites. We're airing live on YouTube right now. So welcome, Annie. I would like to bring you on and actually let you say a few things about yourself and get us started.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on the show. You already mentioned who I was, and the part of the city that I represent is Ward 3. I'm actually in the heart of Depot Town, right here behind me. I live right on Cross Street, and I've been here almost 4 years. I've been in Ypsilanti since 2013, and I was here for a few years, and then I decided to go back to school, and I earned a bachelor's degree at Eastern Michigan University. And then I took a few campaign jobs, and now I work for the state senator in this part of Washtenaw County, Senator Jeff Irwin, and I've been on city council since June of 2019. Some of my interests, besides hanging out with my cats, I'm really passionate about criminal justice reform, prison abolition, legalization of, cannabis and other illegal drugs, ending the war on drugs, really, and advocating for social equity issues within the legal cannabis world. So those are just some of the things that I like.
Great. All right, wonderful. That's a great segue. Start us off with the next question. As of April 6th, we have some breaking news for the city of Ypsilanti. The city of Ypsilanti has declared a local state of emergency. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure, yeah. That was brought to our council agenda this last week for, I think, obvious reasons. The state of Michigan has just seen, another surge in COVID-19 cases, and for a lot of reasons, but one of the most important reasons why we've also continue to declare a state of emergency. It gives us a little bit more flexibility with staff in terms of them being able to work from home and just different things of that nature, being able to try to keep activities within City Hall more limited. And then also it allows City Council and boards and commissions to continue to meet remotely, which I think is pretty important. It would almost be impossible for us to host meetings inside City Hall safely. And if we did, it would cost the city a lot to set it up in a way that was safe. And we would only really be allowed to have about 6 people, 6 residents in the room during council meetings. So not super accessible. So we're gonna keep on going remote until it's safe and for as long as we're able to.
Great, wonderful. All righty. So some of your background information, you covered already. You went to Eastern, you graduated Eastern with a bachelor's degree in political science, and you previously worked Depot Town. What places in Depot Town have you worked?
Yeah, the only place that I worked, I was a waitress at Sidetrack from I worked there from 2014 to really 2018, full like it was my main source of income. And then between 2018 and 2019, I picked up a handful of shifts here and there in between campaigns.
Wow. Well, as you know, Sidetrack is in the news. Sidetrack is actually in the national news about the lawsuit that they're up against. And I don't know if that's my hotline ring. I don't know why. I don't have anything to report right now about the Sidetracks incident because this is your interview. So if you want to weigh in or not weigh in, that's up to you. That's your privilege. And all I know, there's been a lot of stuff out there going on. Even having the party that they had down there. A lot of videos has been out about the party that they had. So I'm just wondering, like, wow, is this something that IPSI is going to look at? This is something that IPSI can further look at and see if there's anything that they could do outside of that lawsuit. I can't have you to speak on a legal matter that's currently in case in the courts. So,
well, as far as like COVID restrictions and protocols go, the city doesn't have any overview over that, unfortunately, because we've had other instances where we've heard of restaurants, bars in particular, violating COVID orders. Unfortunately, the proper channel to both like report and the who has the authority to investigate that would be MIOSHA.
okay.
So a similar situation happened with Powell's earlier, I guess not this year, but in 2020. And I do know that I think I've seen through different threads that folks were aware of how to report those things. It's
Right.
unfortunate when that happens, and it has happened with different businesses in Washtenaw County that I've heard of since the start of the pandemic. But yeah, the city we're very limited in what we can do in terms of COVID-19 restriction enforcement. We can't just go and slap a note on the door and say you're shut down.
Right. So that's something for the
Yeah.
county health department to get involved.
Yeah. So the health department, the state of Michigan, but the city, it's kind of out of the city's purview.
Okay. All righty. Well, at least you're fair about it. And hey,
Yeah.
you said definitely that's something that the state and the county has.
But I mean, I would also say that I think that it's really important that we follow the guidelines set by the CDC in the state of Michigan. And,
Correct.
in some, I'll say right now that I don't think the state of Michigan is strict enough on what we need to be doing with the numbers and the most recent surge. I mean, my biggest fear is that folks that are my age, so in between 25 and 40, like that range, the numbers are much higher right now for that age group. And I've had a handful of people this week who had recently, within the last 2 weeks, received their first dose of one of the vaccines, or haven't had the one that only takes one, but you still have to wait 14 days, that are testing positive now for COVID.
Right.
So it's gonna, this surge that we're experiencing right now, which is in part due to restaurants reopening and schools reopening, and then just people really not listening. And I have been very strict with my own personal life and the way that I've been socializing in the last year. But I will say that I know lots of folks who are going to indoor, not at bars, but in like houses and doing like house parties. And, I just think my biggest recommendation for everyone is to do what's best for you and your health, but also do what's best for your community. And I think IPSI got hit really hard in the first part of the pandemic. And we are also a community of just like heavily frontline workers, whether it's people working in hospitals or people working in gas stations and grocery stores, all parts of the supply chain that we need. But those are going to be the people who get, infected if they're not vaccinated yet,
Right.
and who are putting at risk, who are, they don't have the option to stay at home and work from home. So I just think it's important to think about the entire community. And it's unfortunate that Michigan is where we are at right now. I'm pretty nervous about the next few months, to be honest.
Me too.
I got my first dose two weeks ago, and I still have about 2 more weeks before I can get my second dose. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared that I was going to get COVID in between that time.
Right. Well, hopefully prayers be with you and God be with you. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and wearing your mask and social distancing.
Yep, mask up. And, I haven't been going inside anywhere to eat or drink socially. Really, there were, when the numbers were low, I did like twice go out and have food. But it's not worth the anxiety, and certainly not now with the way the numbers are. Especially with, we know how the virus spreads. So I've been trying to do everything I can. If I do get food out to eat, it's outside.
Great. All righty. So I want to recap a few things I previously spoke about. The term, your term expiration. There's only 2 council people that their term expires in 2024, and that's you and council member Steve Wilcockon. He is a Ward 2 council member, and the rest of the city councils seats are up in 2022. So everybody can be
so there's going to be 3 city council terms that are up.
Wow.
One for 4-year terms. My apologies. There will be 3 4-year terms up, and that will be 1 from each ward. And then there's 1 term up in Ward 1, which is actually the seat that Brian Jones Chance is sitting in currently, and that will be up for 1-year renewal, because when we appointed him, it was over a certain period, but in between a midterm and general election. So he will be also on the ballot at the next election, and then that will just be to fill the vacancy. Sorry, it's a 2-year term. Sorry. So because that seat should have been on the same year as Steve and I, when it'll be a 2-year term on the ballot. So that way it goes back to even. So then whoever gets elected in 2022 to fill that seat will also be up in 24. So it'll only be a 2-year term. And then, but also what is up this next election will be the mayor seat. So previously the mayor seat went with the opposite. So would have went with 22 would have been when that was actually 24. My apologies.
Right.
Am I doing that right?
Back?
No.
Whichever one.
Sorry.
Whichever one. We know it's up in 22.
I'm doing that wrong. So it was 2018.
Okay.
So it would have been up anyways in 2022. So I'm sorry. The mayor seat is staying on track with how it has been.
Okay.
But that leaves 5 seats up in the air in the next election. So
yeah.
I don't know what plans are in place, for current folks sitting on council.
Y'all hearing it live. Y'all hearing it live on I thought you knew right now. There's seats.
I can tell you I'm not planning on running for mayor. So
all right.
I'm
seats
planning
available.
on sticking out in my council seat until 2024. So
yeah, seems like you got to show your plate full. There's seats available, y'all, in the city of Ypsilanti. Ward 1, Ward 2. All right. Ward 1, Ward 2. And
for 3.
And for 3?
Yep. All 3 wards. And then actually Ward 1 has 1 4-year term available and 1 2-year term available in 22.
Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3. The whole slate literally is going to be available. But
there could be a major shift on city council.
Yes. Ann and Steve's seat is safe until 2024. Y'all hear that, public? Y'all better do some soul searching right now if you don't like the way the city of Ypsilanti is going. People who ready to run, y'all better get out there and start doing your homework. We're announcing it today, live. Y'all hear it? Okay. All right, we'll move on. So let's move on to another quick thing that you no, the big things that you're doing as the city councilwoman. There's so many things that's hitting the airway. Something local going on that you guys are doing about the medical marijuana application fees. Is that something that you can talk about right now, or kind of like clear it up with me if I got it wrong?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's medical marijuana application fees. When we opted into recreational marijuana, we instituted a social equity policy within that ordinance that explained how we would utilize the funding to implement the program. So
Gotcha.
the state of Michigan allows municipalities to charge $5,000 for applications to administer the recreational program. And because we opted in with a social equity policy, that is woven into that. So what we decided to do is take $1,000 from each application and put that into a social equity fund. And what that fund can be used for is, I'm going to actually word for word so I don't mess it up.
We like it.
So $1,000 from each permit fee will be used to promote social equity to negatively impacted communities by promoting advocacy around criminal justice issues related to marijuana prohibition, supporting youth who have been negatively impacted by the war on drugs as it relates to the prohibition of marijuana, and community education and outreach on adult use marijuana in general. So the idea behind that was to do things with expungement for crimes that are not automatic, also for reentry issues. So we recently allocated $5,000 out of that fund for a new pilot program through the Washtenaw Housing Alliance. And what that program is set for is to help people who are reentering society, whether it be from prison or jail, secure housing. There's many barriers. I'm sure you're aware of the barriers for just housing in general in Washtenaw County. But if you add a felony conviction to that and someone returning who's been away from the community for a while, it's very difficult to secure housing. So the pilot program is being worked on right now with members of the community and the Washtenaw Housing Alliance. Kathy Wyatt with the Sheriff's Department has been really involved in that. And actually, her and I were just talking a few months ago, and I let her know about this fund and how I wanted to try to figure out, good things to use it on related to folks, in the criminal justice system, but also the war on drugs. So it just kind of fit together. And the resources we provided would specifically go to people who who were incarcerated due to drug-related convictions. So that's just the first thing that we've been able to do. But there's the possibilities, I think housing is obviously reentry issues, but housing is such an important issue when it comes to reentry. Right. So I could see us continuing to focus on that. And then we also, one thing council needs to really get a grip on is what we want to utilize the revenue sharing that we've received so far. So because we opted into recreational marijuana, we will get revenue sharing from the state of Michigan. It's 15% that we get back after they hit. So they had to hit a certain dollar amount before they could activate the revenue sharing, and that was for research, and they already hit that. So we got our first sum of money for revenue sharing, and we got about $140,000 just last month. So it could be more than that if we had more retailers. It was about, I think it was about 28 per store. It's only for retailers, and but it's still something that we can put back into the community, whether it be for housing issues for folks reentering or just housing issues generally. But there's other things, Parks and Rec.
Right.
There's lots of ways
to be able to go to Park Ridge Community Center.
Yeah. So Park Ridge falls into like our Parks and Rec issues, and we've been focusing on our parks really heavily over the last 2 years with the mental health millage.
They look beautiful.
And Park Ridge, we just installed a new playground, and then other community members And the city was also involved in the remodel inside. So Park Ridge just got a new floor, got a new paint job, new furniture, new front desk. But yeah, there's always more. One of the things that is being worked on right now, Brian Foley started a project last year, and the city's assisting with that to redo the basketball court. So it's called the Magic Square, or it was when many folks from the community were growing up. So that's being worked on this year, and the city's allocated resources for that. So yeah, we're constantly trying to improve all of our parks, especially we've been putting special attention over at Park Ridge over the last year.
Great. That's wonderful. Well, look like city is on the move with y'all leadership there. That's a wonderful thing. Is there any type of way that you could speak more on the social consumption sites that you were speaking about?
Sure.
Let our viewers know about the social consumption sites. Put a little
social consumption lounges were made legal through the recreational marijuana law in Michigan. But of course, local municipalities get to determine what facility types. So there was a little bit of a fight at council 2 years ago when we were deciding if this was going to be allowed or not. Ultimately, I convinced, I wouldn't say it was just me, but I did take a pretty strong stance on why we needed to allow these types of facilities, primarily because the whole point of legalizing cannabis was to eliminate the chance to get in trouble for something that isn't any worse than alcohol, but we have bars. And the other thing too, like for renters, which I'm a renter, and you can't just smoke weed in your apartment. I mean, you can, but some people have like really strict just rules in the complexes that they're living in. And there should be a place for people to be able to consume safely, where they're not breaking the law, where it's away from minors, where it's not just out in the open at public parks.
Right.
Because as much as like I might, not want to, nobody wants to limit these things so much that you have to have like, a specific designated area, but for things like marijuana, at least for the short term, this is what we have. We have designated consumption lounges, and it's a safe place for people to consume, to socialize. You can't mix it. Like a designated consumption lounge can't have alcohol and cannabis and food. You can't make food or sell food or alcohol in these places, but you can order food and bring them in. So it's not, it's not a free for all, but it is a safe place where people can, socialize and use a product that's, in my opinion, safer than alcohol. And people are allowed to just freely take advantage of that. And, but at the same time, you can't just walk around with open consumption. So I think it goes, the same with smoking. And I think we should have a place for people. And some of the concern from people who were worried about us opting into recreational sales were worried about people consuming outside. So it's like, well, let's give people the option to do this in a way that our community sees fit. And we'll see how it goes. I know that we've licensed one social consumption lounge, but because of the pandemic, they haven't opened or operated. But I do know that other people are interested. They can be right next to a retailer. So they can't be inside of a retailer. They have to be a separate facility, but they could be next to or upstairs. So that would make sense. You could go in, you could buy a product, you could go next door and sit and socialize with your friends at a, table or, lounge furniture or live music, or there's tons of things that could go on at a designated consumption lounge.
Right. Now, on the other side of that would be people concerned about the level of youth violence. I'm not saying that the youth violence is is egged on about by the medical marijuana or the marijuana business, but it's a lot more youth violence going around in Ypsi and Ypsi Township.
Yep.
And a lot of residents want to try to get a handle on that. Is there anything proactively that you guys are working on in the city of Ypsilanti, or maybe you are working on?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a really tough subject because so much of the violence that's happening, it's happening where people from outside of the city, these are not city residents, come into the city, do something, there's a shooting or something, they get on or off of 94 and hop right back on. And then that's just kind of it. And these things are happening frequently, more frequently. I think that, you know, perhaps it has to do with I think this goes back to like the war on drugs, whether it's drug related or not. I think that there's a lot of things that go on because there is this illegal market of things happening, right? I'm not an expert, but this is just, there's a reason why people from outside the community are coming in, causing problems and then leaving. But I don't attribute that to legal cannabis businesses, because legal cannabis businesses, in my opinion, make you're occupying a building. There's a heavy security system. There's cameras. There's IDs checked at the door. Minors can't go in and buy and walk out and sell that stuff on the street to minors. So it does cut out that, but I do think that there's this whole other world outside of cannabis and just other drugs that go in, and unfortunately, guns are involved, right? Like, it's not just illegal drugs, but of course, guns are involved. So, I mean, we talk about this, like me and other council members talk about this, like, how do we fix this? Like, how do we do this without, what I don't want is there to be a part of our city that has police officers in every single corner, monitoring a neighborhood 24/7, because that wouldn't be good. So, I mean, one thing that's happened in the last 2 years, that might have been, I think, helpful was the gun buyback program that the police department did, where people could just turn in guns and no questions asked. But I just think one of the things too that we've talked about before is that people will leave their cars unlocked and leave guns underneath, like not even adults and then kids get them because they're checking vehicles and they're finding guns, and that's also what's happening too. So there's a lot of things that I think that we can do just in terms of like neighborhood awareness and just things for like adults to consider to help eliminate some of the access to guns that young people are getting. But, I don't have enough expertise in this like area to even come up with a solid plan. It's
going to be a village effort.
Every summer it's bad.
On board, yeah.
But it's actually, what's really disturbing this year is that we've already seen an uptick in gun violence, and it's April. So
still early.
Yeah, I don't have any answers. It's something that everybody on council, including the city manager and the chief of police, were trying to figure out, and members of the community, and it's not just, we talked about, it could have been at our last council meeting. Maybe it was a private conversation I had with another council person from Ward 1, but sometimes people think that gun violence is a Ward 1 issue, but it's actually an entire city issue.
It is a city.
And if you've been paying attention, it's not just Ward 1 where these shootings are taking place. So it's something that we need to figure out. I don't think that we're going to figure it out in the next 6 months before summer hits, but a
proactive approach is always
it's something that everybody on council cares very deeply about. I think that for certain members of council, it hits more to their core. Council member Morgan talks all the time about how he has been implicated in gun violence before. And he brought a resolution forward a few months ago to advocate for the Michigan legislature to allow local municipalities to allow municipalities to regulate firearms at our council meetings. And I'm just going to plug in this for my boss. My boss just introduced a bill yesterday that would allow local municipalities to do that. And that was something that both Councilmember Morgan and the mayor brought forward a few months ago. And luckily our state senator heard that. And there were other members, of like local municipalities in our district too, that brought that forward. Ypsi Township, Brenda Stumbo had addressed that with us. And then also Anthony Morgan did. And I do think that it's like psychologically, gun violence has probably impacted all of us, but Anthony has had a personal experience, and it's hard for him to see guns inside council chambers. It's intimidating, and
Yeah, especially when you got people coming in and talking to council and they got their guns on the
Yeah.
side like they the police. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense at all. Some people, some people feel that that's their magic weapon to the answer. But a community approach is the best approach to anything is a proactive approach. And I think that's
Yeah,
the
I
best thing
think
to
it's
do
gonna
is try.
take, yep, it's gonna take everyone on council and community members across the board to really, come up with new solutions, because I think that like there are no experts on how to fix this problem in
No,
cities that have a high gun violence
right.
rate. It's just, but I do think that there's ways to talk to kids from the time that they're really young, and then also talk to adults who need to unlearn things and figure out how to change their own behavior, because that also impacts the community. Like if you're going to leave a gun in your car, well, you shouldn't leave a gun in your car, but if you're going to, you should lock your door, and you
Right.
should also make sure that like there's just, I never even thought about that until it was brought up to me. With, I think it was mentioned in passing in one of these discussions that we were having, like sometimes that's how kids are getting access to guns. People are leaving them under the chair in their car, and then they're leaving their car unlocked.
Well, stop leaving your guns in your car. Lock your doors. But that's been around here in the city of Ypsilanti all the way in the 90s. I was here in the 90s when all this was going on. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
uh
it's not just an Ipsy issue.
mhm.
I grew up the first 9 years of my life, I lived in Southwest Detroit. It was an issue back in the early 90s in Southwest Detroit. It's still an
Yeah,
issue, I'm sure.
definitely.
And it's not really going anywhere. But I think how we deal with it, um, makes the difference.
That's right. Well, you nailed it so far. You nailed it so far. So I have I'm out of questions actually because I've actually covered everything. You done a great job in the intro explaining everything and me checking off the list. Check, check, check. Did I miss anything? Did I miss
Um,
anything?
just to go back to some of the cannabis stuff, I think it's important to, bring up that like there are people who are very resistant and hesitant to legalize cannabis for good
Mhm.
reasons. Black and brown people, especially Black people, were targeted for decades in this country for cannabis under prohibition. But I think that we all know that the war on drugs is a failure, and it was also designed on white supremacy. So, and I try to be very mindful when people push back on legalization, and for those reasons, because now you see white people profiting off of this industry, and it unfortunately, I don't know how to fix that. It's here. The law, we legalized in Michigan. We're going to legalize federally, but I do hope that we can look back in the city of Ypsi and see that we have been trying to make sure that, at least in our jurisdiction, we make it a priority to have Black ownership.
Mhm.
It's something that I've been working on since I got on council, and hopefully, we'll see if our social equity ordinance actually did what we wanted it to, which is, help elevate Black ownership in the retailer market in
So
NC.
got a question along that line about the dispensaries.
Hmm.
Why in the hell they don't hire a lot of Black people in them dispensaries? Every time you go to the dispensary, you got a white, 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 white.
Yeah.
Most of them are ran by people that got the money, Middle Eastern
Yeah.
people, and most of the owners are rude as hell. I remember one owner over there on Ecorse Road. It was Green Vitality. He was an excellent owner. He was always reaching out, helping out the community. He was always looking out. Not the House of Dank, but
Yeah.
Green Vitality when they was Green Vitality.
Yeah. Well, to be
Look here,
honest, I
Patient
haven't.
Station,
Yeah.
Patient Jim at Patient Station. They don't do a damn thing for Ipsy. I mean, for the youth in the community. I've been talking to him a bunch of times. He always refer me, hey, my son's got to. It's always an excuse.
Yeah.
Y'all coming in here. Now, here's straight up. We're going to talk about this real quick. They come in here making a lot of damn money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. First of all, them stores should give you guys an example on how they should treat their customers. So when them stores, they disrespectful to us, them stores are not very polite to us, as well as them dispensaries are not very polite to us. Honestly, I can name probably 3 Black people that I've communicated with over at Stickies. One Black person over at House of Dank.
Mm-hmm.
The patient station had a few Blacks. They disappeared. So my problem, honestly, and I've been on this kick for a long time. That's how Brian Foley got his damn job. We need to protest some of these doggone marijuana dispensaries. Y'all making cash in our community. Y'all got to start being respectful. The owners at least need to be available if they have a complaint, because I'm a card holder and I get disrespected a lot of times in the dispensaries, but I hold them to the fire. One downtown Ipsy, I can blame it. I can blast it out right now live. One downtown Ipsy, Herbal Solutions. I was blocked in by a customer and I got it all on videotape. Blocked in, couldn't get out. I was parked in a handicap spot. He was blocking me in. Kept me there for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm like telling the guy, man, will you have this guy to move? Oh, I'll go tell him. One person came out, another person came out. What's wrong? Have him to move, please. Told him to move. He still didn't move. He went and got he was parked on the curb. He got his package. And then after he got his package, then he moved. So I had this all on videotape and got my handicap sticker in the window and everything. So I'm like, I called the enforcement lady and I was like, look here, I was just blocked. What's going on? How do you guys let this happen? Then I called the city. Then the lady called the dispensary. The owner of the dispensary had somebody to call me and told me that I was banned from the dispensary because I was making trouble. How in the hell does that happen? I don't have to frequent them. I don't never frequent them, but I'm just saying that shows you the disrespect that a lot of these money-making people own these dispensaries. They feel that they balls are bigger than everybody's, and they feel that they don't have to respect nobody. And they can ban me, and I wasn't in the wrong. Yeah, and I hope you hear this. I hope people tell him Herbal Solution banned me because I was blocked by a big baller friend of theirs. And I got it all on videotape. I'm just tired of these businesses disrespecting us. I'm a buyer hospital baby. They got to get it understood. 52 years in this world. In Ipsy. Yeah.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about that experience. And it's obviously not something that, I want to see happen at any business type. And
I wouldn't trust going back to them. I don't know if they would do something to my medical, my marijuana. I don't know. I just feel that that's some bullshit, flat out. And then if I tell somebody, so what, he bullying me because I told the enforcement lady? What the hell was I supposed to do? Now, if I'd have got out there and snatched him out the car, then they'd have locked me up. But I'm just saying, see how silly stuff can turn into silly stuff. I called Jeff and I talked to him about it. And I called a couple other people to talk. I'm just going to be frank. I'm going to start putting out the real deal when I'm not getting things handled. Some of these people think that they can run these businesses in the county and be disrespectful to us Blacks and call us buddies and call our sisters honeys and babies. And I'm going to be real with them. A lot of these stores, they need to be checkmated. When Brandy's was disrespectful to our community, we made sure we got behind to shut that doggone store down. So
well, this is a good time for me to plug in a Black-owned dispensary in Washington County is here on View. Tisha and Christina Montague were at one point the only Black women-owned cannabis dispensary in Michigan, and they're still one of the very few. So, I think the bottom line is people need to support more Black businesses. Mm-hmm. So that's my
But
shameless plug for Huron View.
that's cool. That's cool. I appreciate it. But we need to check them white ones too. We need to
Oh
check
no,
them white
absolutely.
ones. We
Yeah,
need to check them businesses that disrespect us, because a lot of them businesses have been getting away with it for a long damn time. And ain't nobody been saying nothing. Ain't nobody been saying nothing. We take it. We take it. All this racism going on now, that's got to stop. And these stores, they got to understand. You have to treat us like them dollars that you want from us. If you love them dollars, you love us. You got to act like you love us. You can't treat us like that. So I just had to put that plug, sorry, on your interview.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to talk about
marijuana and
yeah.
support. But yeah, I'm willing shit. Honestly, that's some
I
crazy
think
stuff.
Sticky Ipsy, you know, I'm friends with lots of people who work there, and I think that they try to do a really good job at making sure that their staff is diverse, and that there are, you know, Black people hired. It's a huge problem in every industry, but I think it's particularly shameful in the legalized cannabis industry to not prioritize hiring more Black people. Obviously, in Michigan, we have race as a protected class, and affirmative action is illegal under, you know, in the state constitution. But I do think that that doesn't mean that businesses can't voluntarily prioritize hiring, you know, more diverse, more women, but more Black people.
Well, just promise me, last thing on this show, just promise me. I had to throw this out there. But let me actually mention
One
this
more thing. Oh, sorry. I just want to plug in something. If anyone feels that they have been discriminated against with employment in the city of Ipsy, we have a non-discrimination ordinance, and that is one way to test it. You know, it's been around since the 90s, but I don't think enough people know that. So if you know of any Black person in particular who has tried applying at a dispensary and they feel that it had to do with race, they should definitely, you know, the only way the ordinance works is if we test it and if we enforce it. So if people are being discriminated against based on race, the city of Ipsy needs to know.
I got a Black girl, a friend of mine, that applied at Patient Station. They ain't called her, but they accept her money.
Yeah.
Straight up. I swear I'm gonna send some
if
people.
anyone, you know, if anybody you know, if they applied and they feel like they weren't hired due to race, it's definitely something worthy of reporting to the city of Ipsy. It's
just a little suspicious. All I'm just saying, full disclaimer. So any dispensaries want to ban me now, ban me. I don't care, but I'm just saying, full disclaimer, y'all just need a little damn color in there, and a lot of color come to y'all facilities.
Yeah.
And then y'all really, for real, y'all have to start supporting Black folks, hire some African Americans in y'all dispensary. Please, Annie, please check into it. I beg you. I don't want to call Jeff. I don't want to call nobody else. I'm just saying they need to open up the doors to some people locally and hire some local folks. Maybe that'll stop some of this riffraff going on. I know a lot of local folks would love to work in the dispensary. It's not very much to do. Trustworthy. You got cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
It ain't like you can't trust the person, but that green dollar that's coming from us is good. Yeah. Come on. For real. This is a shout out to all the dispensaries in the city of Ypsilanti who ain't hiring no Black folks. I'm tired of seeing no Black folks, or just very 1, 2, 3 Black folks in certain dispensaries. And I ain't gonna mention the one on Cross Street. That's why I boycotted the hell out of them, because I ain't seen not damn Black person working up in there. So yeah, I mean, stop spending your dollars in some of these dispensaries if they ain't got no Black folks. For real, this is supposed to be a pro-Black city, right? Right?
I agree. So yeah,
I'm sorry for all this on your interview.
No, it's okay. We
honestly,
we did
because
try.
I want to file one right now. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. We don't even got very many Blacks working in the dispensary. So
yeah, I think, you know, I feel really confident when I tell people to go to Sticky Ipsy.
Sticky is the best one so far.
Yep,
Green Vitality, they was the best one when the two managers that I knew was in there, but now they're House of Dank, and Honestly, I don't discriminate against nobody. If you're a Middle Eastern owner, if you're a white owner, if you are another race owner, except African American, if you ain't got black people working your shit, I feel that you need color in your store. I'm just gonna say it like it is. You do. You take our money, but don't give us no applications and accept it and hire. I'm having a problem right down in the county right now. I'm not having no problem because I applied for a job that's what, making $19 an hour doing the case management work, helping people get their evictions and utilities and stuff taken care of. I ain't got called back because it went through manpower. I'm on that too. So yeah, I'm gonna start exposing a lot of stuff now because it's terrible. It's terrible. And closed mouths don't get fed. That's what I need to say. You need to start opening your mouth if you're having discrimination against you in the city, Washtenaw County, in the state of Michigan. Call Ann, call Jeff, make a complaint up at the city of Ypsilanti.
Yeah, there's also, I can send it to you, but there's a form that you can fill out on the state of Michigan Civil Rights Department.
Yeah.
Has also channels that folks can utilize. Also legal services in South Central Michigan.
Okay.
Too.
Well, like I said, Manpower have discriminated against me before. And that was some years ago. And I told them I'd never come back to y'all, but I didn't know they was fun on this job through Manpower that discriminated against me. So yeah. Manpower management, I'm putting y'all on blast. If somebody tell them that, yeah, if y'all don't hire me with that job, I'm gonna put y'all on blast on this show. I'm gonna do an independent show about them. I didn't even talk about their mamas because I don't believe it. I didn't apply for jobs at the county, got turned down. I can't go to Ricky Jefferson, Ronnie Peterson, my black representatives. Boo, shoot, unless I'm bed buddies with them, and I ain't that way. I don't roll that way. So no, that's how come I reach out to people's office that do stuff. And I appreciate you and Jeff for looking out for me. Every time I pick up the phone, you always answer or Jeff answers. I'm not gonna lie about that. I appreciate you. Sorry to put everybody on blast on this show, but they gonna see a real representative of us, for us, somebody who's actually giving us information that we can use. We can fight against injustice. We can fight against racial discrimination in employment. If you have a housing issue, talk to Ann about it. I guarantee you she'll give you some good information or point you the right direction if she don't know the information. She's always done that for me, fair and balanced. Even helped me with my brother when he was in the joint. And he's still in the prison right now. She didn't help me with that too through Jeff's office. So I got to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I never got a chance to see you but once, but thank you for everything you've done. Problem. As Jeff's aide and everything that you're doing for the city of Ypsilanti, because I think the stuff that you're doing right now is putting a lot of them council people up under pressure. Just because you get a shift in power at the head don't mean that it's a black city. Y'all got a lot of work to do. Y'all need to get with Ann and work with her too, because I think she's a fabulous person, young spirit. And once again, 2022, Ypsilanti has got a clean slate open for election in the city of Ypsilanti. So if y'all Ypsilanti residents want to run, you better get on the train right away and get your information, because it takes about a good solid year to get a campaign up and off the ground. That's my plug to everybody. If you have anything else to say.
Yeah, no, just thanks for, having me. And, I know that a lot of seats are up in 2022, but I do appreciate working with everybody that currently is on council. A lot of us have been through some stuff in the last year. This pandemic has been really hard. So it is nice. I think council right now, we're all working together pretty well. That doesn't mean that other people shouldn't, think about running. But I hope we can accomplish some things in the next year before the next election together. I really do enjoy working with everybody on city council and city staff. And we have a lot of members of the community who are very present and vocal at council meetings and, always calling and telling us what we should be doing. And so I appreciate the role and just trying to do what we all, what we can and in the little amount of time that we can be effective. So.
We appreciate you, and give a shout out to that Frances McMillan. She's the city
Frances is
city
great.
manager. She is
Yep.
the mom. I want to get her on the show. I inboxed her on Facebook and said I need to get on the show. Frances McMillan, I'm calling your name. Come on the show. Thank you, Annie, for coming on. I'm
Yeah, no
sorry
problem.
for all those excerpts, but that's all right.
It's
I
all
think
right. Yeah.
fabulous
You know,
interview.
Yep.
And hope to see you soon. Hope to work with you
Yeah.
on some things in the city of Ypsi and also in the state of Michigan.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on.
All righty. You have a good